Emma pressed her forehead lightly against the cold glass of the train window, watching the city grow nearer with every passing mile. The skyline, still distant, looked both familiar and alien, like a painting she had studied years ago and forgotten, only to rediscover it with surprise. She hadn't expected to feel this unsettled, but her chest carried a heaviness she couldn't shake. It had been almost 5 years since she left. Back then, she was 22 and desperate to escape, convinced that the world beyond her hometown promised answers, freedom, and perhaps even happiness. She had found parts of those things, yes, but also loneliness, exhaustion, and a gnawing sense of displacement. Now, at 27, she was coming back, and the irony wasn't lost on her. The girl who once swore she would never return was rolling back into the same station she had fled. Her phone buzzed. A message from her mother: "I'll meet you at the station. Don't be late, we'll have dinner waiting." Emma typed back a short reply, "Okay, see you soon," but left it unsent for a moment, staring at the words. Home. Dinner. Family. These things were supposed to comfort her, but she felt the opposite. They were reminders of the life she had chosen to abandon. When the train pulled in, the brakes screeching against metal, Emma gathered her bag and forced herself to breathe evenly. The platform was crowded, full of noise and movement, but her mother stood out at once, smaller than Emma remembered, her shoulders slightly hunched. Time had worked its quiet cruelty on her. They hugged, briefly and awkwardly, and Emma wondered if her mother also felt the invisible wall between them. The drive home was filled with shallow conversation, weather, groceries, neighbors, the trivial details of a life Emma no longer knew how to enter. She nodded, answered politely, and stared at the streets flashing by. The city had changed. New cafes, new buildings, the scars of construction everywhere. And yet, in strange corners, she still recognized the old places, the cinema where she once skipped classes, the bookstore where she had spent rainy afternoons, the riverbank where she first tasted heartbreak. That night, lying in her childhood bedroom, she found it almost unbearable. The posters she had once loved were gone, replaced by bare walls and neutral paint, as if her presence had been erased. She closed her eyes, trying to rest, but the silence was suffocating. The next morning, unable to stay indoors, Emma wandered into the city alone. She walked aimlessly, letting her feet guide her, until she reached a narrow street lined with cafes. The smell of roasted coffee beans drifted into the air, pulling her toward a small corner cafe she didn't remember from before. It was quiet inside, warm with low music and shelves of books along the walls. She ordered a cappuccino and sat near the window. Outside, life moved in fragments. A woman tugging her child by the hand, a cyclist weaving through traffic, an old man feeding pigeons. Emma opened her notebook, the one constant companion she had carried through all the cities she had lived in, and began to write. Her pen had barely touched the paper when the bell over the door rang. She didn't look up at first, but she felt it, the shift in the room, the faint recognition in her body before her mind caught up. When she finally raised her eyes, she froze. He was standing by the counter, speaking to the barista in a voice she couldn't hear but remembered. Tall, slightly tired around the eyes, with hair that looked like he had run his hands through it too many times. Daniel. Emma's chest tightened. It couldn't be. She hadn't thought of him in years, or rather, she had forced herself not to. He had been part of the life she had tried to escape, part of the pain she had buried under distance and time. And yet here he was, just a few feet away, asking for coffee like any other stranger. She ducked her head, hoping he wouldn't notice. Her pulse raced, her hands trembling as she tried to write nonsense in her notebook to appear busy. But something inside her knew it was useless. Some people, no matter how long the silence, still carried gravity. And then it happened. His eyes, scanning the room casually, landed on her. They widened almost imperceptibly, a flicker of disbelief crossing his face. The second stretched, unbearably slow, until he gave the smallest nod, a silent acknowledgement, not a greeting, not yet. Emma's breath caught. She knew in that instant that the past she had tried so hard to outrun had just walked back into her life.